absolutely marvelous, and we learned quite a bit. A definite acknowledgement to Brandon and Zelda for their presentations. It was great. So let us open with the first item, the financial update and the project tracker.
Are we on up top, Jonathan?
Yeah. Stephanie, what's the pen for that?
All right. Well, thank you, Pastor Lake. I do have a couple of items. The project tracker that is shown in the agenda is actually minus the carryovers that we'll have for fiscal year 21. Also, if you look in your packages, I've added a line item for available grant funding or grant allocations. It should be in the package as well. That way, you all can be more informed when we're making decisions about how to award funding. And just to give you an example, if you're looking at that, if you look at the Dixieland table there, the grant allocations show $200,000, and those are specific to the types of grants that we administer in Dixieland. Are we going to continue to lose the video, Jonathan?
Sorry, that was Mike.
Got it.
All right.
Okay. All right. And then on the other side of that, we also have on the project progression report. A lot of these have reset because we're in a new fiscal cycle. So there's a lot of funding available. I will note that we have 3 active transportation-related projects with West 14th Street, the Providence Road design there, and then also we're finishing up the Lake Parker Path. During the Affordable Housing Land Bank first round of awards, we had 18 CRA lots awarded, which is a huge plus for us going into the I'm sorry, and for the Affordable Housing Land Bank, those were awarded. So a good push for us to ensure that we're furthering the city and CRA's goals for affordable housing. And that is all, Mr. Chair. I'll take any questions.
All right, thank you, Elise. Next item, housekeeping. Are there any housekeeping items?
Well, if you notice, Jasmine isn't with us anymore. She decided to move on from us, and so we're hoping to replace Jasmine. We enjoyed having her with us, but some times when folks are making tough calls about what to do with their families and versus work, and so they have to balance those things. But we hope to add someone else to the team that is equally as knowledgeable and energetic.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
She was energetic and very helpful.
Yes.
So we're definitely going to miss her. Okay, our next action items are old business. The minutes have been distributed. Are there any corrections? There being no corrections, all those in favor, let it be known by the sign of aye. 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 Opposers, nay. Minutes are approved as presented. Thank you very much. All right, down to our new business, Yard en Masse, rent deferral.
All right. And I'll be presenting this item. As you all know, Yard en Masse, their team joined us and officially opened for business November of last year. They are leasing from the CRA at $6 a square foot. This is after they paid $750,000 to construct that building. Collectively, we were able to contribute $250,000 to finish out that project. So they are our tenants. They pay approximately $1,261 a month. Their current lease expires in October of 2022, and that lease will automatically renew for an additional 3 years, just given that there are no issues on default. So COVID has taken a real toll on our business partners and pretty significantly for the Yard en Masse team. With all the closures that took place, the business lost a minimum of 4 months of activity, and it really impacted the financials. They had to lay off quite a bit of their team. And overall, the city understood this and recognized the challenges amongst all the city tenants, and so the city offered a 90-day rent deferral to all of its tenants whose principal business operations included restaurant, food establishments, and other entities that required a ton of social gathering. Several of the CRA's tenants did accept the 90-day rent deferral, which spanned from April to June. However, Yard on Mass opted not to accept that because they needed to pursue something that would significantly meet and address their needs. So I'll share with you some of the revenue decline there. If you look from January, they were bringing in $45,000 a month, and then that significantly declined roughly 50% in March once COVID kind of hit us. And so that took a toll on the business all the way down to August, where they were just receiving no revenues there. And so we're looking to grant some relief to the Yard on Mass ownership. And so what we're looking to do is defer the rent for 15 months, which would span back to the April timeframe. So it would be inclusive of that 3 months plus an additional 12 months. And that would take us through August 30th, 2021. The repayments would commence September of 2021. Okay, and so what would happen is there would be an even distribution of that deferred rent, which totals just under $19,000. The Yard on Mass team would then repay that on top of their base rent, which is approximately $2,837 a month, and they would pay those monies back to the CRA over the year of their final year of their lease. Also, one of the stipulations within the lease is that they have a 5% annual increase, and so staff is recommending that there is no increase the next term, the next month. The next year of their lease. So we're really asking for the board to consider rent deferment for Yard on Mass for 15 months, and then also we're asking for some consideration so that we don't get a 5% increase as well. With that, I'll stop for any questions.
Yes, Commissioner Madden.
Thank you, Chair. After reading this over today, I think my colleagues will remember that earlier in the summer, when things were looking quite bleak and things were shut down, we had requests to invest and give grants into new endeavors downtown. And it was my worry that in giving to new endeavors, it was really actually our partners that we had been working so hard with over the last couple of years to get a good start that might be the most needing assistance to survive. And I think that with Yard on Mass, one of the number one people hit by some of the executive orders of full closures of bars for such a long period of time in their infancy, and I think that the community was so excited. I also think that, the percentage of investment into a city property that we own, and they're leasing over $700,000 of investment. As a small business owner myself, I just think about making that kind of investment and then being shut down. And then even though they might be, able to open now, we're still without a vaccine. We're still without a lot of assurance that we're out of the woods. I'm one of how many on this board, but I would like to consider an amendment for forgiveness instead of deferment of this lease during this time, especially thinking about the amount of dollars that they've invested into this property, that now the city has that improvement in a at-risk neighborhood. I just think it's, kind of the least that we could do with the total amount being $18,000. I know we are asked, for much larger grants and things like that. So I just would like for my colleagues to consider that.
Thank you.
Commissioner, are you presenting that in the form of a motion, and what amount, and
I could-
for how many months?
So I could, and Elise help me, I could maybe present a motion to make an amendment that instead of being deferred, that it would be a forgiveness.
So there is no motion on the floor yet, so
Okay.
you can feel free to
Make it a
present that
motion you
motion.
want?
Yes, ma'am, to forgive that amount of rent spanning between June 1st of this year through to September 1st of next year.
Because I think they're still going to have a lot, to do to survive, even in the upcoming months and year. And so I would make a motion to forgive the rent. They're still paying, I think, Elise, they're still paying utilities and other things. I mean, they have a lot of operational expenses and, like you said, to even rehire their employees right now. So I would like to make a motion to have rent forgiveness for the same period of time that we're offering the deferment.
Brian Gotting, I'll make a second on that.
Who gave that second? Brian?
Ryan.
Moved and
Brian
properly
Gotting.
seconded that we move to forgive the rent payments for the same allotted time of the recommendation from the staff. Comments from the board members? No comment?
Good.
All right, we'll open for public comment at this time.
Frank. Mr. Edie.
Oh, Brandon? Yes.
Can we just put a dollar amount on what we're forgiving? What is that amount that we would be forgiving? Maybe someone from staff could help with that.
Sure. Mr. Eady, that would be a total of $18,915. Yard on Mass team would still be responsible for all applicable sales and use taxes and their utility expenses.
Is that it, Brandon? Was your question answered appropriately?
Yes, it was, Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or any public comments at this moment? Okay, no further comments. Motion has been made and seconded that we forgive the rent for this period of time for a total of, at least give those numbers again.
$18,915.
Okay. All of those in favor, let it be known by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay.
Aye.
So approved unanimously. Thank you so very, very much. Good work. Okay. The next item on the agenda is the Talbot House parking lease. The area that will make that presentation.
Good afternoon, Board. My name is Diaria Reed, Project Manager with the CRA. In August of 2017, the CRA acquired the properties located at 830 and 848 North Kentucky Avenue and 845 North Tennessee Avenue for land assembly. Once the mass market spaces were completely leased, staff quickly realized that parking was becoming an issue for our tenants. With the board's direction, staff proceeded to develop the recently acquired property into parking for our tenants. We started design, planning, and construction. Construction of that parking lot was completed in December of 2019. At the time of acquisition, the previous owners allowed Talbot House staff to park on the site. Dr. Brenda Redout approached staff. Dr. Redout is the executive director of Talbot House. She approached staff and requested that her staff still be able to park on site. Both parties agreed to lease 20 spaces on site for an annual payment. The remaining spaces are reserved for house management. Because dumping is a major issue in the area, staff also negotiated trash pickup with the Talbot House staff. So Talbot House staff will assist the CRA with picking up trash on the CRA-owned properties located in the immediate vicinity, as well as within the right-of-way around the entire block. The proposed lease will be for a one-year period. It will automatically renew for 1 year each year, unless either party submits something in writing stating that they wish to discontinue. In lieu of a rate per space, Talbot House agreed to an annual payment of $99, in addition to the regular upkeep of the agreed property. This agreement is consistent with previous parking leases that the CRA has with other nonprofit organizations. Staff is recommending approval of the proposed parking lease, and I'll stand to answer any questions you may have.
Yes, Commissioner Mann.
I'm going to be chatty today, I'm just warning you. This is an exciting agenda for me after several months of not having as much on the CRA agenda. So most of you may be familiar with the City Commission's recent policy workshop regarding illegal dumping. We had a community cleanup. Pastor Lake was out there along with many others. And this is just, to me, a really creative staff solution. I just want to applaud staff for seeing things where nonprofits and government and folks can come together on a win-win scenario. To think that I was addressing a particular situation in a neighborhood just this morning where there's a situation with illegal dumping, been fined and cited 51 times. And it is really hard, you know, to even with the city and code enforcement and all of those things to take care of some of these properties in the way that we should because of the protocols that have to, you know, be in place to actually clean up and charge fines. So I thought this was a brilliant solution when I read this earlier on the agenda, that you thought creatively about how Talbot House could be a good neighbor and add value to the neighborhood, and then how we could then also give them the parking. So I just wanted to give kudos to the staff. I think that's the kind of things, you know, that I love to see, is innovative, creative, kind of outside the box scenarios that are a win-win for our community. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Absolutely, and I would echo those comments, Commissioner, because I think we do have the best staff in the United States of America. So, any other board members have any comments? Brian?
No, I think it's great. Good.
Any other board members have any comments, questions? D. Ariel, this is a fine presentation and great creativity from the staff. Okay, if there are no Board of Directors comments or question, we can open now the floor for public comment. A question. Okay. Now, is there a motion to approve the recommendation? That's all we need.
So moved?
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Madden, seconded by Mr. Waller, that we approve the recommendation presented by staff regarding the Talbot House parking lease. All those in favor, let it be known by the sign of aye. Aye. Opposers, nay. Aye. Leave it as approved, unanimous, +1. Thank you very much. So is the order. Excellent, excellent work. Okay, now we're at the item of 114 East Parker Street.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Carolyn Bostwick, Senior Project Manager with the CRA, and I have a few considerations for you regarding 114 East Parker Street. I'll just start with just a refresher of this is a project we've been working on for a while now, almost a couple of years, starting with the CRA's endeavor to renovate the building that was located at 114 and putting out a request for proposals from businesses to tenant and partner with the CRA. And through design work and consultation with our architect, it was recommended that we pursue a new build instead of a renovation just due to the costs. And so the board approved that last year about this time for staff to proceed with that. And so we have revisited the process for a new build at 114 East Parker, working with Dr. Sally Stone with Well Done Development and Fern Wigman and Banks Architects. And we designed approximately 4,700 square foot building. And we had the site plan approved. The plans have been permitted. The permit has been approved. And over the summer, we put out an RFP for the construction. And so where we are today, that's a rendering of what it's going to be looking like there. And so what we're presenting to you today is our staff's evaluation of those bid proposals. along with the lease terms for Well Done Development. So we received 23 proposals into purchasing, and 2 were considered non-responsive by the purchasing department, and so we evaluated 21. And we had ultimately 4 evaluation criteria that the applicants gave us everything that we asked for in the RFP. We requested some additional information in the form of a schedule of values so that our architect could fully assess their capacity to build it in a costly and timely manner. And then we decided on a low bid price that was their original bid price less the bid deductives, the bid alternates. And alternates are just the design aspect that can be taken out in the event that we want to save money. And that is what we decided to do to save on costs. And so we took the vendor's original bid, less those bid alternates, and that came up with the new low bid. And ultimately, if we could, we wanted to award to a local vendor. So that was the ultimate deciding factor. The top 4 are as listed here: CIC Construction Group, RAM General Contracting, Miller Construction, and Strickland. 2 of those 4 are local vendors. And there was only a $5,000 difference approximately between all 4 bids. We ultimately, utilizing our option to use the local preference, to recommend the award go to Miller Construction Management. And the budget associated with that is their low bid, which is, here, approximately $1.108 million. And so the budget associated, we would be asking for that plus the 15% contingency, so approximately $1.313 million. So our tenant's going to be Dr. Sally Stone with Well Done Development, and we are looking at a 3-year lease term with a 3-year option to renew at a rate of $4 per square feet. There would be no lease payments in year 1, and full payments begin in year 2, and the tenant will be responsible for utilities, et cetera, insurance, and would have the first right of refusal to purchase. What we're committing to the lessor, the CRA, is to go through the design process. We've actually done that already, gotten everything permitted, construct the building, and then deliver the property to Dr. Stone. And Dr. Stone's commitment is to set up shop as soon as we're done. The building's, we have our certificate of occupancy, and she is committing $50,000 to this endeavor. Upon execution of this lease, she will pay $25,000 to go into escrow, and when we get the certificate of occupancy and she goes into the building, another $25,000. And that amount would be applied to the sale contract in the event she chooses to exercise that right to purchase. If not, she gets it back when the lease terminates. So with all of that, staff's asking for, one more thing. We are in day 4 or 5, the day 4, we have one more day for the protest period for the bid. And so at this point, we don't anticipate any additional protests. And so we have one more day to go with that. And that's typical before purchasing actually moves forward with the negotiation. And so by the time we get to commission or the real estate committee, should you approve, we will have cleared that process and wouldn't have to deal with that. So regarding the board's consideration, we'd like to ask that the contract be awarded to Miller Construction Management at 114 East Parker Street with an associated budget of $1,313,000, and for the terms outlined with Well Done Development in that lease to be approved. And at this time, I'll take any questions you might have.
Carolyn, thank you so very, very much. Very fine presentation, and kudos to Dr. Stone. She's been very patient. And, thank you, staff, for being creative. I think this really stresses the importance of this partnership and our seriousness of making this happen. Thank you so much for your diligence. We're ready to approve this recommendation. Is there a motion so we can have discussion?
Well, I didn't know if there was any discussion.
Make a motion.
I figured you've made many comments already.
I'm trying to hold it. I don't want to be like the only one talking, but we could make the motion and then have discussion.
All right. Move to approve as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded that we approve the recommendation coming from the staff regarding 114 East Parker Street. All right, ready for discussion. Any other comments, question by board members? No discussion by board members. Everything looks wonderful. Okay, now we'll open up for public comment at this time.
I did want to acknowledge that Dr. Stone is
Yes,
here.
she is.
I'd
along-
love for you to
here.
come, Dr. Stone, if you could
Yeah.
just give us an update.
Yeah, that'd be great.
as well as our architect, Aaron Banks with Fern Wigman and Banks.
Let's see.
Give an educator a microphone.
No, yeah.
It is indeed a pleasure to be here. First and foremost, I want to thank God for the opportunity to come before this board. I want to thank the team, the CRA team, Mr. Drumgo, Ms. Terlin, Ms. Diaria, the entire CRA team, and of course, Mr. Aaron Banks, and my husband, Mr. Mario Stone. It has been quite a journey, but it has been one that has truly given me the knowledge to know that there is an opportunity to grow and to make Lakeland one of the best places to live in this community. The amount of sheer cooperation and fortitude that has come into play to bring this project to fruition is excellent. I can't even think of, I just get a little emotional. I'm not going to cry, but it has truly been a blessing to be a part of a community that has been focused with intentionality to partner with public-private partnerships opportunities. And so even throughout every single challenge, Ms. Madden, your encouragement, I can, Mr. Lake, and just the entire board, they say don't start calling names because you always forget someone, but Ms. Zelda and those that are on board, and Mr. Petkoff, just everybody, I call them all, including young Mr. Edie, who's saying aye and participating. This has truly been a project that has shown the very best of what Lakeland is as a community, and I look forward to the opportunity to even grow. Just hearing Yard on Mass, we met and had a tenants kind of come together that was put together by the CRA, so I'm looking forward to partnering and as he said, let's get together, how can we help each other? So seeing how the CRA was able to help him in the midst of the pandemic encourages me that this Midtown is going to be something that is going to be pretty great. So I look forward to that opportunity. Everything that has transpired, the building plans, the design, what it's able to do, and the capacity, and even the collaboration with other communities. Y'all better give me a red light because I'll keep talking. But I'll end with this. Even the partnerships with everyone from the chamber to the local organizations to the faith-based community has all come together in a way that is absolutely phenomenal. So could not have done it without the extraordinary leadership of the CRA and our project manager. And so thank you is really all I can say. I'll be more than happy to answer questions. I don't know if I address what you may have been, but we go by every day, we sit, we look, we ponder the possibilities. And so I just feel blessed and honored to be a part of this project. And thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're quite welcome. We appreciate you. Okay, motion has been moved by Frank and seconded by Commissioner Madner that we approve the recommendation coming from staff regarding well-done events. All those in favor, let it be known by the sign of aye. Aye. Opposers, nay. Aye. Approved unanimously. Thank you so much. Congratulations. And again, thank you, Terlin. Great presentation. Appreciate it. Excellent, man. This is wonderful to see good things move forward. And again, we appreciate your patience and your ability to work with the staff. At this time now, we'll receive a presentation regarding the Robinson Cowles Counseling and Testing Center, 110 West 7th Street.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Dr. Robinson Cowles founded the Cowles Counseling and Testing Services in 2014. The business is currently located off of Gary Road and has been in operation for 6 years. Due to the business's success and growth, she's decided to move the business into the Midtown CRA district. The property sits on the corner of West 7th Street in North Florida. It's pretty much a no man's land. Sits to the east of this sits the hospital, and to the west we have a string of vacant commercial properties. In order to relocate the business, the owner of the building, Mr. Robinson, he sought bids for the work. They came in at approximately $75,000 to $80,000. Seeing those estimates and working with staff, we realized that we thought that was a significant underestimation of the value of that project. So we talked to Mr. Robinson. He ended up hiring Mr. Charles Jackson of Majon Construction as his project manager. We worked with Mr. Jackson also on the Coney Funeral Home rebuild. So it was recommended that we do an exploratory demolition, and that demolition drove the estimated renovation cost to approximately $260,000. Okay? So here's a financial breakdown of what those costs entail. But there definitely is a funding gap here. And so with a combination of demo work, design fees, general contractor fees, we're looking for some additional support within this grant, and we're asking that the CRA contributes $175,000 to this project as a not to exceed. So a part of this request, which really wouldn't be before you unless we had the conversation at our retreat about it, and we talked extensively about how we value certain corridors within our districts, Midtown being one of them. We talked about the vacancies and the disinvestment along North Florida Avenue. We also talked about Kathleen and Memorial Boulevards. And there are other CRAs that are contributing more dollars to their renovations to ensure that projects go forward. And so with that, we understand that this is a significant investment in this project, but we think that this will get it done. If you look at the numbers there, you see it's approximately 228, but we're projecting 260 as a total number. This was provided to us by the general contractor, but I believe there were some omissions, and so I get to be honest about numbers. And part of this, just doing several of these projects, there are some things that need to get done on this site. One of them is to shore up the windows, and I know Mr. Robinson, he's not going to ask, and so that's why I want to make sure that we get these things. There's also a ground sign that we need to pursue in order to highlight the business along Florida Avenue. He was willing to concede that in his asking for this additional funding. But then also there's some resurfacing of a parking lot, and I think that potentially there will be a shortage of parking on this site in which they would not be able to see all their clientele and queue folks up. And so we want to make sure that they're able to do these things to move forward with their business. So with that, we're asking for, again, a not to exceed of $175,000 on this grant, which would be utilized for interior, exterior renovation to include some site work and, again, the ground sign. What we also need to do is, in contrast to what we've done before, is we can't do this as a reimbursement, because if it's a reimbursement, we won't get it done. Mr. Robinson has shown that he does have the $85,000. We did request that from the bank, and we've gotten that approval. And so what we'd like to do is have him spend his money first before we touch the CRA money, with a guarantee that the CRA money will bring us to the finish line. In addition to that, Mr. Robinson understands that he needs to pay for any overruns if we do exceed that base amount of funding that hopefully the board will grant. And I'll stand for any questions.
All right. We don't get to hear Elise misspeak much, but I think you misspoke on one thing.
Yes, sir.
You You said that Mr. Robinson would not make a request. and ask for something. And well, thank Mr. Robinson and Dr. Kyles for their fine work to the community, of course. So this is a great project, and I understand that this is a trilogy, one of the trilogy of projects in that particular area that we want to see move forward and to be a blessing to the community. So thank you for the presentation. We're ready to entertain a motion to approve this recommendation.
Move to approve?
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Madden, seconded by Mr. Frank, that we approve the recommendation of the staff not to exceed the $175,000 for this project. Any discussion or questions from the board members? Okay.
I mean, when I read this agenda, I said, Elise, I feel like it's my birthday. This is all such good news. I am so excited that you would invest in this neighborhood, and I feel so excited for the city to be able to partner with you. You know, that particular part of the neighborhood's near and dear to my heart. You know, I park over there a lot for that Dreadnought Stadium, and the kids playing at Simpson Park over there for Pal League. And, you know, it is such a, you know, exciting thing when people risk their capital to invest in a building, and it's an area particularly, maybe there's not been a lot of investment, which, you know, Elise mentioned, you know, there's kind of a little strip of land there. And I'm just so proud, and here we had Dr. Stone. I don't know if you'd like to give any commentary. We'd love to hear it if you wanted to, but I can't help glowing after, you know, months of working on initiatives like Lift Lakeland, and with not being able to make as many grants with CRA because of COVID, to see these strong women in this room, you know, investing themselves in Lakeland, and, you know, as a female up here, these gentlemen, I am just thrilled and so excited for you, and this is, to me, a really exciting endeavor. I'm glad you're moving your business over, you know, to this neighborhood, and just thrilled to be your cheerleader. So if there's anything else I can do as your city commissioner, to let me know, because I'm so proud. So that's just my little opportunity to give you my little cheerleading and be excited about this motion.
Excellent, excellent. Any other comments or questions from board members that are joining us online? Okay, we'll now open up for any public comments, questions. Yes, you may come, Dr. Kyles. And again, we thank you for your service to the community. Appreciate you.
I don't know if I can take it off. Yeah. I'm just so blessed. As you can see, my father is here, and my mom works with me, and my brother. I'm so blessed to have them. But I'm also so blessed to be here in the city of Lakeland. I was born and raised here. I left for over 10 years, but my goal was to always come back and try to contribute as much as I could. And so thank you so much for this opportunity to be able to serve the city of Lakeland. And I'm talking to my peers who are now doing quite well, that have moved out of Lakeland, some other professionals, trying to talk them into moving back as well, so we can bring Lakeland up to where it needs to be. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so very much, Dr. Kyles. And Mr. Robinson, are you coming?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
I'm assuming these dots up here means for us to talk or not talk. Anyway, like my daughter, I want to go ahead and take this out because I want to show appreciation for all the work that you guys have done to the city. I've seen a lot of the work going on, but I didn't know it was done by you guys. I thought it was done by, by individual contractors. And I do appreciate everything you've done. My contractor is here, Mr. Charles Jackson. I want to appreciate what he's done as well as the lease, because I'm not an easy person to get along with.
Oh, boy.
I really am not. And I'm working on it, though. I'm about it. I'm almost 70 years old, and I'm still working on it, so I got a few more years to go to get it cleared up. But I want to thank you guys for putting up with us and giving us the opportunity to help me expand the business. Okay. Like you say, we're down on Gary Road now, and we saw this building that's across the street from the hospital. I think it's going to be a great location. Matter of fact, it is a great location. It's inside the Paul A. Diggs Neighborhood Association area. It's in the area that you guys want to help, and we thank you for that. And because we're across the street from the hospital, I think that should enhance the idea that we're not going to close. We should be there for a while. And thank you, unless you have questions of me. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Mr. Robertson. Appreciate that. Appreciate your hard work and diligence. And if there's no other discussion, it's been moved and properly seconded that we approve the recommendation given from the board to not to exceed $175,000 to Robinson Kyle's grant request. All those in favor, let it be known by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. So is the order unanimously. Thank you so very, very much. Appreciate your hard work and diligence. And now we have our next discussion item concerning the Dixieland Art Infusion. And we will need to take action on this.
Yes. And this art infusion it's based in our board retreat. During the retreat, we talked about what it would take to move Dixieland forward. We're staring at the road diet now. We'll be doing so for a year. During the board retreat, we looked at a real plan for identifying various surfaces that can host mural art throughout Dixieland. And it just so happens that we worked with Aaron on this as well. So Furwayman and Banks have been really pivotal in just working with the CRA on these various projects. And so we've identified over 200 mural canvases throughout Dixieland along the corridor. And we believe that now is the time to really move this forward and talk about how mural art can impact the district. And previously we looked at putting planters along this corridor, and after some further examination, it didn't seem like the right way to spend money. And those planters would have been sitting along the roadway with a very, I'll say, non-impactful profile because of the concrete separator and the gap between the separator and the sidewalk. So we would have been looking at 3 feet with a small planter, and it would look like your house plant from the roadway as you rolled down the corridor. And so when we looked at the cost of that, the capital cost of the actual planters, the contracts that would have gone into maintaining the plants, and those contracts would extend over a 2-year period, then we would have to decide if we wanted to extend those contracts or relocate the planters elsewhere. That would continue to be an additional operational expense. So we looked at a 2-year window where we would have about $175,000 in expenditures. So instead of pursuing this, we'd like to use the funding that was set aside for this endeavor for planters, and we'd like to funnel it into art and facade improvements for the Dixieland corridor. And contrary to the way we typically do it, which is we put out applications and we ask the property owners to come in and contribute to that facade renovation, we would like to paint every facade in Dixieland at no cost to the property owners. And so those owners have been paying into TIF for several years. I think that the South Florida Road Diet has been a culmination of what happens next along the corridor. So we would like to paint those facades. We would also like to offer the participating property owners an opportunity to then receive a mural at no cost to them as well to help us further our plan here. So staff would market this to the business owners in the Dixieland corridor. We would conduct a call to artists and pair those property owners with an artist, and then we'd have a phased approach to this execution. So when you look at it, we've broken it down into 4 phases. So it would be phase 1, and we're taking this thing from Ariana up to Highland Street, and then we have subsequent phases 2, 3, and 4, which will take us right into downtown. Our architect is being very diligent, and we've asked for a lot of detail on this because we want to get a cost per square foot to be able to have a finite number that an artist can charge us for that space, and that would be based upon other murals that we've done. So we want to make sure that if we've got a building that's with a canvas that's 300 square feet, that we pay proportionate to one that would be 600 square feet. So we really want to be smart about how we expend these funds. And the architect Aaron is going to give us a breakdown of those square footages per surface, and we'll phase that in. We believe we'll have the numbers for every surface that we've identified by the end of February. So we'll take a quarter or so to really pull in those numbers. During that time, we'll start our contacts with the businesses, and we'll be able to move forward with painting those facades so that they pop as people go through the corridor, and it's all been done at the same time. We'll also be looking to replace some of the awnings on the businesses that are worn. As you drive the corridor, you'll note that, traffic was so close up against the buildings that they have residue, soot on them. Some of the awnings are ripped and torn because the vehicles are whizzing by them. So we've bought ourselves some space with the separator, with the road diet. We believe that we can go in and improve those facades, and it will make a significant impact. So with that, we have approximately $350,000 that we ended up setting aside for the road diet here for the planters and then the extended life of maintaining those planters. This is not an actual rendering of what will come, of course, but we wanted to show you what this could look like. And we also wanted to put this out there so that we can put FDOT on notice that we're going to come in and ask for them to let us paint something, whether it be the separator itself or the space between the separator. We want to make sure that we add some additional, just different murals and something that's appealing to the eye to the corridor so that folks can go down to Dixieland. And despite the fact that traffic is being diverted out of the area, we still believe that Dixieland is a destination, as you see by the restaurants there. Born and Bred. You see that with Union Hall and some of the venues that are there, Pink Piano. So there's some real baseline, foundational items there in Dixieland, and we just want to build on them. So staff is looking for the board to consider just the reallocation of those funds so that we can go ahead and do this infusion of art and improve the facades in Dixieland. What we will do is we'll make sure that no one who's received a grant from the CRA within the last 5 years, of course, it wouldn't be eligible, which is typically what we do, and I think we can consider those maybe 4-year grants on a case-by-case basis just to see if we would, if they do need a refresh, but our goal here is really to touch every building along that corridor if we can.
Excellent presentation. Love the idea. And the point of this road diet, I was concerned initially, but after seeing what's been done thus far, it's a lot safer. It slows down traffic a little bit, but it's more calm. I don't know if I can say both at the same time. A little dangerous, but calm. It's less dangerous and more calm, but just environmental shift. So I think definitely appreciate that. And now we'll open up for, we'll entertain a motion to approve this recommendation.
I just want to say, I think it's a great idea. Our building's there on South Florida, and I agree with you that putting the planters would have been somewhat impractical. So this will be very nice. So I'm greatly in favor of it. So I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Weller, second by Commissioner Madden, that we approve the recommendation of the staff. Any other discussion? Commissioner?
A couple questions. So, of course, as an artist, I would love it to be as colorful as possible, like Rainbow Row in Charleston, but, certainly I know that would not be the appetite of every property owner. Do you have renderings of like West Palm Beach or in Miami or just different areas, where they have similar buildings? I know we just were in West Palm Beach this summer, and there's several different areas in town where they just have kind of the boring, building, and then each particular renter within even one building, they'll even divide one building into 3 colors or stripes, or I know the murals will add a lot of color and variety, but is there any kind of restriction or recommendations coming from staff to those who participate with, regard to color selection, or are you going to give them any kind of suggestions?
Well, we take recommendations from you all, and I think that that's a great idea. So our architect is very diligent and works very hard, and I'm sure he can put together something, perhaps a palette, a scheme that we would try to promote with the business owners when we meet with them to figure out what paints that they can use, and we'll show them some examples of how it's been done in some other cities. So we can put together an inspiration board. That way, when we have those consultations, they can have some different choices. We'll try to guide them a little bit and get them to choose something that's not so drab.
Any other comments from board members?
Brian Gotting,
Yes. Brian?
can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. I just was going to suggest, if you haven't already, that we contact Dave Collins, because I know he was instrumental in the tapestries that have been on the buildings for the last year or two. And, between his contacts with the various artists, he might be able to make some recommendations as far as pairing up some of those artists with different building owners, depending on their preferences in terms of palette colors and other types of ideas. But I didn't know if we had anybody kind of spearheading the artists, or if it was just going to be an all points call out to various artists. But regardless, I think he'd be a good person to tap.
And thank you for that feedback, Mr. Gotting. We do have it on tap to talk to some of the art studios. We've worked with some of the artists from Artifact as well, and then also we know platform artists out there. There are a lot of various entities, and we want to make sure we get some good diversity. We're also considering opening up that call to folks outside of the area. One of the things that, keep in mind there are 213 surfaces, and one of the things we found to be valuable to arts districts, and particularly in Wynwood, folks were competitively wanting to paint pieces in Wynwood, and they do it at no cost because they want to be on that wall, right? And so now we're kicking this thing off, and right now we're paying for these, but ideally we find partners in the community who will then continue to roll this out and continue to do this. And perhaps some of those surfaces, they switch over after a couple of years. And then it becomes a big thing for people to come down and paint, and then for folks to come observe those paintings. And if it gets competitive enough, we don't pay people to do this, right? It just happens organically on its own. So we will take that into consideration and talk to the studios, especially down in Dixieland, and we'll get our partners lined up for this call for artists.
Excellent.
That's awesome.
Excellent. I would add, and this is a question, rather, for this motion, would it need to include any of the downtown businesses? I don't know how many downtown businesses would flow into this.
So, Mr. Chair, it really doesn't. We've got funding set aside for it. So basically, if you're diverting the funding that was originally planned for this purpose with the planters, that portion that sits in the downtown, we can just do the same and move those monies to address the downtown buildings. I think folks they forget that, Pine Street, when we get down towards that, I would say north of Lemon Street too, leading into downtown, that's when you start to see a transition in that traffic flow. And we think it would be impactful to try to touch some buildings there as well, so that folks feel it right as they get ready to get into Dixieland. So,
right, you just don't want anything to come up to impede the time and the progression of completing this work. This is a great idea. All right, there are no other comments coming from the board. We'll now open up the floor for public comment. Anyone? Okay, there being no public comment, we are ready to approve this recommendation regarding the Dixieland Art Infusion. All of those in favor, let it be known by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposers, nay. So is the order. Thank you so much for approving this unanimous. I think it's going to be a great project. It's going to definitely beautify the area even more and just give it that even greater appeal that we need to expand our businesses. So thank you so very, very much. We appreciate all of you for joining us here today, and I want the board to know that I'm grateful to be in this position. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm enjoying it. I've been learning over the last couple of years, and I did see one of our previous chairs Petkoff on here, who did a fantastic job of leading this board. And it's just a wonderful group. And of course, Elise and staff, you all do a fantastic job. So I really appreciate all your efforts and all your professionalism to help teach me to learn more about this CRA board. So I appreciate working with you. Look forward to continuing to work with you. If there's nothing further, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn in a second, and we'll be done.
So moved.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you so very, very much. Have a great day.